Welcome to the Euler Room live code flock session. Hosted here on Earth via the internet. Today's live coders are Cleary, clpa, unknown deleter, and savamala. And the first sound is on the bottom right cell from unknown deleter. A bass drum from the korgminipops bank. Number 4. Number 1. Or is that metal from clpa on the left? I'm going to think that's metal because we didn't get any difference in sound since the in changed from 4 to 1. And it is kind of metallic. Okay, first animation, clpa automating the sample selector. In is a function that selects which sample to choose. So if you have a directory, for example, a directory named metal, with 5 different kinds of samples inside of it, that in function is going to select the nth sample. Got a beat. Unknown delete. Drop in the heat. Beady beep. Beady beady. Pretty background visuals. Really nice color textures here. The immediate thing I thought of was this kind of summer watermelon. That's what the blue and magenta, or the green and magenta do to me. And now it's going to black and white in a nice timed pattern. The snare's coming in hot. That snare drum, the SD sample from the korgminipops bank. It's a very clean, poppy snare. Oh, Cleary has patterned some rhythms, some durations into the note selection. So we now have a non-uniform distribution of rhythm. That's pretty good to hear. It gives a little bit more direction to the melody. Nice, that TR-808 bass. Definitely is a good time with this glitch background that just happened. Addition of some reverb by using the room function. It looks like Cleary and clpa are collaborating. Awesome. 2 on 1 cell over here. I love when that happens, but when it's happening, I don't always notice it and might try to evaluate mid-construction of function call. It looks like these 2 are more well-practiced than me. Transpose isn't I'm not the only one! Oh, sorry. No, so I shouldn't be excited about that for you right now, but yes, that happens to me too. Transpose does seem to be a bit finicky about where it likes to be called. That's a cool sound. So now we're adding more textures to the same melody. The text is pretty blurry right now, but it sounds like this piano, a distorted piano or kalimba sound. I still just see metal. I don't think that there's any new samples drawn in, so maybe there's I'll just wait till it gets less blurry. So the reason it's blurry for me right now, I believe, is because the color space is huge, and that means it's unable to compress efficiently the video data over the live stream, broadcast onto Twitch, or maybe compressed into the video format. I'm not sure how it was compressed. This is just my guess. And the part that's blurry isn't, to be clear, it's not just the background, it's also the text that, so it's like the entire image is blurry, not just the background. But it does come back into resolution too. And I'm not, I'm playing the video from a static file, it's not being streamed, so I already have all the file downloaded, and this is still the case. I'm mentioning this just so that we can be aware of text size. If we're, you know, not that we're always aiming to have readable text, but if you do want your text to be visible to an audience, make sure it's big. Probably too big for your comfort, right? So just some brainstorming here. This visual effect is super cool. Savamala's always got some new, interesting visual experiments. So delightful. That melody that clpa has been working on is really nice. Been doing a lot of transformations on it, so it was a continuous stream, and now we hear it very well spaced out over time, right? There's a lot more rest, space between the events, and also those interesting textures also add more character, which is often a good thing to introduce. Sounds like, yeah, off. I think it's the off function. And this speed modulation. So speed will slow it down, but it's got a negative number, and I don't know what that does. There's also this late function. I'm not entirely sure how that one works, so things for me to look at. Oh, that's a cool sound on the beat. Some delay. Let's look at... Yes, unknown deleter just added a delay to the snare drum. 20% mixed in. So this means that if the delay had an argument of 1, right now it has an argument of 0.2. If it was 100%, then that would be, we're only getting the delayed signal, but now we're getting a mix that's 80% of the dry signal, that is just a snare drum, and 20% of the delay, which is a good amount because we hear it's just a soft echo that comes in behind the snare without distracting from it. It's more supportive than it is structural. And now unknown deleter's adding some distortion to the snare drum, and you hear that it becomes a thicker sound. The thickness that I'm hearing is more upper spectral content. It did not introduce any more low frequency components. It only added high frequency components, and it did not change the overall duration of the note, but it did make the upper frequencies stand out longer. So before distortion, they faded out quickly, the high harmonics, but now with this distortion, they've been amplified, and that's why it feels punchier. I would say that's currently the most prominent, well, it was the most prominent thing in the mix, and now this new melody, folk harp, that clpa brought in, is the most prominent thing in the mix. Now it sounds pretty complete. Prior to this, I would say it was sparse, still in a build-up mode, but now it feels like there's something everywhere. Applying a low-pass filter to the folk harp. That's a way to manage the spectral content, the frequencies of the sample, so that we're going to limit it only to the frequencies 1000 and below. That means the other instruments, like the snare drum, which are sitting in frequency space above that, they're not going to conflict with the folk harp, and they can each occupy their own respective areas in sound space without conflict while supporting each other. That high, new hat instrument 2, also is in its own distinct region of sound space. That's why it sounds so clean. It also has a pretty straightforward rhythm, which is helpful here. And again, it does not conflict with any of the other sounds. Finally, the bass. It's hard to easy to miss, even because it's doing its job so well. It's probably the softest element in the mix right now. It's an acoustic bass, GM acoustic bass. I think Unknown Deleter contributed that. It's in the song that they've been working in. And this instrument, the acoustic bass, is the softest, but does not have any upper harmonics, so that can make it kind of hard to hear or see. Well, not many. Most sounds will contain upper harmonics, especially bass frequencies, but they're not present. If we were to distort the bass in a similar way to the snare drum, it would become punchy in a similar way. Full carp sounds like it went up an octave, and yes, that filter has been raised. No, filter, I thought it said 7,000, but that was just the visual distortion. It's still at 1,000. But that higher fundamental sounds like it's gone up an octave, and that is what, yeah, there's a transposition call that is adding an octave. Not going up, but it's adding an octave because of the comma. So we have octave duplication, and that's doing two things. One, the high octave, yes, gives it the high frequencies, but two, it reinforces the melody. I'm deciding how much detail I want to go into about the octave reinforcement. Let me see. So, well, one fact is that the full carp likely contains at least one octave of timbre, right? So it's not just a sine wave, but it has frequencies that go above the fundamental. So that means the fundamental octave here, before we added the new octave, still spanned more than one octave, right? In the same way that the snare drum spans many octaves, because the frequency content of the sample is more than a sine wave, right? And it's more than just fundamental, and it's probably an octave high. It reaches an octave higher than the fundamental. You can use this dot spectrum function in Strudel to view this yourself. And what this means is that whenever you apply a filter to it, for example, that's the kind of content that we're removing. But if you add another sample that's an octave higher, it's kind of doing the opposite of a filter, right? You're reinforcing those things, but you're doing it at an octave higher. And also there's the fact that there's beat frequencies and ghost frequencies, and basically how beat frequencies work is given any two performed tones, tone 1 and tone 2, there is perceived to be a ghost tone, tone 3, whose frequency value, the rate of oscillation of this ghost tone, is the difference of tone 2 minus tone 1. So the algebraic difference. So for example, 880 minus 440, then you would get a ghost tone of 440. Therefore, you get an additional kind of reinforcement through ghost tones. So that's why an octave doubling is an effective way to bring out a sound. Whoa, what was that? Is it coming back? Well, where is it? This is a chill moment. It feels like something's missing. To me, maybe the performers like it where it's at, but the sound space, I hear like 3 distinct elements at a time, basically, and then this fourth one just came in. Okay, yeah, there just doesn't, so this new thing is good because it adds some direction, right? Before that, it just had this stationary, static feeling. I don't feel like there's really drive or direction. And the loop that's happening doesn't have enough tension or instability to persist my interest. But this new element, sounds like another bass, another plucking bass, pizzicato, and we have a new triangle. The new bass is doing some harmonic stuff that's pretty interesting. It's definitely going out of key, which is a great way to break up monotony of the loop. almost never call here. It's an interesting way to add some variation. I think that's a 5% chance of applying the callback function. And the callback function here says that we'll do apply with bright sauce. Where is that? Who did that? Top left. GM. What? Pad warm. There we go. Yeah, that decay is very nice introduction. Put some control over that signal. I feel like it's coming together nicely now. Chords always help tie things together. Nice. F major to A minor. To use Western music theory, that would be, so it's looking pretty modal now. We got F, G, and A minor, but there's not a C in there, which means we're hovering around C major without ever touching it. And that's a great way. Oh, D minor, getting spicier. Is this turning into a royal road? It's a royal road! Oh, now we're, yep. Put that back, put that. Okay, is that C? I'm so, wow, yes. Okay, that's so pretty. I was so anxious for him to evaluate so that we would get the new changes. The dominant chord, C7. Major 7, that is a good just-in-time correction. I was like, what are you doing with the dominant 7 in there? Major 7 keeps it in the same space of C major, but if that had performed as a dominant 7, then we would have instead had the tritone in there, which would have made it feel out of place, not in the key of C major, but instead tending towards the key of G. But with the C major 7, we stay firmly rooted in the key of C, and all of its auxiliary chords like A minor 7, G minor, G sus, F, fancy it, what it was earlier, 13 or 9 or something. D minor, half diminished chords are fantastic. I don't think we use them enough. I think that the diminished chord gets more attention than it deserves, because the half diminished is actually more natural. If we look at the undertone series, I'll give you my juiciest insights. The undertone series is the reciprocal of the overtone series and reveals to us B minor and half diminished chords. Looks like we're back on a pretty standard progression up here, which is solid. I love the way that the performer was manually editing the progression momentarily to produce these really rich and dynamic chords that weren't the same per iteration, and now it has resolved into this stable, very clear tonal space. The mix is complete. The basses, there's two basses. There's the stationary bass that's giving a fundamental tonic position, and this accent bass that has the boop. Maybe not anymore. Nope, there it is. On the beat, we have kick, drum, and hats. We have a trio, one of each. Everything is all of the beat elements are non-clockwork. What I mean by that is there's not anything that is a power of 2 rhythm. In fact, in the whole mix, the only power of 2 rhythm we have is the chords. Everything else has some kind of non-uniform rhythm. I don't have a better word for it yet. If you think of one, let me know. This does not mean the rhythms are complicated. All the rhythms are locally pretty straightforward or simple. They're all loops. I don't hear dynamic rhythms right now. Not very often, at least. Not very visible in the mix. But because they were all different, and because we only have one clockwork rhythm, we get a very compelling and interesting texture. The way that these audio features spike at different points in the frequency space, in different pockets of time, keeps us going. I love this animated filter over the kalimba. Oh, we got some feedback on transpose. Trans works, yes, but not on some samples. Here is because of scale. I don't know what that means, but okay. Thank you for the feedback. I'll just keep trying to use it. When it doesn't work, I'll use add instead, because they can do the same thing, but trans does have a nicer interface API. I don't think the filter's animated on kalimba, correcting myself. It is just statically 9000, so it just got opened up. This is gorgeous. I'm gonna shut up. The animation is on that pad warm. Now it truly is a warm pad. The automation has been deactivated now, commented out. The one on the top left, the dot low pass sine range 7,700 to 18,000 is what made it so beautiful earlier. Yes, that was the line of code that made it beautiful. Exactly. Now it's pretty cool too. True, it does not have the same beautiful texture, but it does not make it bad. It is exciting, I'd say more energetic, a bit more stimulating, as opposed to, ooh, nice, I love that duck effect. Where's that coming from? A new bass, that's a really good bass line. The mixing feels a bit unintentional. Everything's just about the same volume right now. We're only getting incidental mixing through filters. I think we can do better in terms of explicit position using the gain and post gain functions. Choose what should be featured and put the others in the background by attenuating the gain. Yes, okay, so that duck that's happening, this duck effect, none of the instruments are called, nothing on the screen is showing any kind of, called a duck, not that I can see, nor any kind of amplitude modulation that would do the similar effect. And the reason that we get the duck is because, oh, here it is, there is a duck. Finally, but I'm glad I didn't give a false prediction. Okay, so the duck is on the bottom right. We're next to that line that says CLPA right now. It's on the same line, bass drum times 4. It has duck 1, duck attack 0.2 seconds. And the reason that, okay, so duck is a weird function in Strudel. It's definitely the weirdest in terms of how it behaves with others. So here it was used as duck 1, and that means everything on orbit 1 is going to get the duck applied to it. And I guess that's how delay and reverb 2 work as well, but duck is strange because you give it the orbit number to duck onto, and it doesn't really matter where you call it from. You can call it from any orbit or any instrument, but you can mutate all other orbits by calling it. And because 1 is the default orbit, putting it on the kick drum is just, I guess, a convenience or a reminder, but it was causing that amplitude modulation, and when it got commented out, the whole line got commented out, so we lost both the kick drum and the duck effect. But you could paste that duck effect onto any other instrument without the kick, and it would still do that very pumping sidechain compression effect. This is a pretty good breakdown. I love these pad chords. That alternating D minor to G sus is a great way to vary it. Turn that 4-bar phrase into an 8-bar phrase. Really stretch it out. That's fantastic. Oh, we have some comments. Evening, morning, all. Hi, hey. Let's see, what's this? Someone remind me how to turn off the visuals. They're lovely, but a bit flashy. Then the response is just, oh, janeishly, hi, a wild janeishly has appeared. So glad you're here. Go to the menu top right and change display settings and then push the canvas off. Oh, great. Oh, this music is so cute right now. I love the kalimba above this, the pad synth. The hats are cool in the way that they're animating their volume. I think that's a filter animation, but nonetheless, it does bring them in and out. Proper trance here. Oh, I see that. I see the kick drum is uncommented. When cleary evaluates, they're gonna drop. Give it to us. Come on. Come on. Come on. Setting up something, the plucking bass. This work on the pad synth is fantastic. clpa, you are rocking it. Woo! Looks like the kick drum is going at half speed compared to the... Ah, okay, no, it's got 1/4 the number of Vinces before. It was previously a ×4, now we're at a BD ×1, which is why it has this duck effect once per bar instead of 4 times at the downbeat whenever the kick plays. And Cleary's here to patch that up. Excellent, thank you. And Uncomment introducing a new experiment. Very bold to just drop a new piece in without testing it. I like to fade them in either with filters or volume. Oh, lovely. Looks like we, yeah, fix the filter there. Bring the kick in. Trance me. Tempo change coming up. Yes, Cleary, you made a drop. Yes, yes, yes. Drop the kick. Oh wow. In my head I'm hearing some delays on that bass drum, on the bass kick. So this is where you can get a rolling techno kick. You give a delay channel on your kick drum, a 16th note or an 8th note, depending on how subdivided you would like that delay to be. And it should have some feedback, and definitely not too loud in the mix, right? So maybe 1/3 or 1/8 of the volume of the kick drum itself. But you're using it perhaps filtered as well to have just the higher frequencies, filter out the low frequencies so they're not competing with the kick. But then you're basically creating a subdivision of time on the kick drum. It's a rolling techno kick. You can do it in strudel with a dot delay, and then .dt, where dt, the argument there would be 1/4 of your cycle duration. This is why whenever I'm left coding, you might see a variable named let1 cycle equal 1 over CDS, because then you can put that in a function like delay to get a perfectly tempo-tuned delay effect. But let's examine what's happening here now. Turned a synth into a piano. Magic. An E piano 2 to be exact. Number 8. Oh, multiple eyes sample pack survives the performer. Last week, Mode4i themselves introduced it, and here we see the samples used without the creator, I presume. Is a testament to the quality of work. Congrats. Whoa. Oh, hi. Hello. Yes. More triangle, they said. Feels like a moment of transition. There was a fantastic jam. It did feel very concluded. And we are definitely in a very different sound space than we were, say, 10 minutes ago. I don't recall any of these elements existing then, so I love to see that happen. Total transformation. The most durable thing that I recognize would be the chord progression itself that Anundalooter is working on, performed by the E piano 2 right now. But even that is a different sound, right? There's a different pad sample previously, and now we've got this very different modulated piano, which accompanies this super crunchy distorted wow 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 thing. Wow wow wow. It also coincidentally became staccato when I started chomping it with it. Oh. The background just got so hyperbolic. What is that, a parabola? It reminds me of a parabola or hyperbola. It's kind of modulating between the two until it becomes almost a tangent function. Nice. Beautiful jam. Getting 2000s hip hop from this. Who's gonna start rapping? Vodka. That was a visual poetry generator. A livecoder EI. And livecoder YC. Instead of rapping, I was thinking, well, we could use words instead, and so vodka, the poetry generator, would be the thing to use. This is poetry generation circa 2021, and Jason, the creator, had a visual UI that he had created, I believe, for managing the output. This was super cool. That new hi-hat just made it feel so much more cuter to me. And we got a harmonica. Come on. Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I was about to let the cuteness ensue, but it was kind of annoying. I guess CLPA agrees. The reverb on the piano is ominous. I mean, it sounds cool, but it feels very, like, dark and scary. The beat overall is, I mean, it is on the heavier side. Definitely has a very, very clear, like, sway. Very, like, I don't know what you would call that. It's very dirkle. It's very drank. His bass line's funny. It could be great. It feels like a caricature right now. I think it's the right notes. It's the wrong sound. Maybe bring it down an octave to start. That would solve a lot. Let's see, what line of code is that bass line? Oh, it's the top left one that clpa is working on right now. With notes F2, G sharp 2, and A, F. Okay, so it's a sine and a saw. We did not put it into any octave specifically. We just used the default notes here. Oh no, apologies. No, it's octave 2. It says explicitly right there in the note selection. Yeah, that C2 is a lower note and it sounds good. This also changes the tonality overall because previously we had basically F minor with the A flat in it, the G sharp. But now we're just going this F open. It's just an open space rooted at F or C. You could say that this is related to C, but it is pointing to F as the tonic. Getting a bit chaotic up there. We lost the beat. Beat is destroyed. Okay. I'm just gonna close my ears for a moment. That was, I didn't even notice when the piano went back to normal, but it just like felt better. It was almost like the pressure in the room was accumulating until the piano released the pressure and it was better again. I didn't actually close my ears, but I wanted to. Oh, it's so good. ARP will select notes in the chord, so it's a specific 3-call chain. You have to first do a chord progression with dot chord, then do dot voicing. Oh, I just got an organ! There was an organ for a moment. I have an organ in my house now. Wurlitzer. But, so yeah, after you call voicing, then you can call ARP. You can also use ARP if you're writing out lists of notes yourself, but it's convenient to use the chord.voicing calls. Sounds all of a sudden like glass circus or something, like wine glasses, kind of like... feels like circus music maybe, I don't know. It's some cartoony imagery to me at the moment. It's changing with these new melodies, which are more archaic or ancient. The deeply reverberated melodies, very nice. Cool. so good. I love that transition. I couldn't even tell that it was basically the same musical content. The sound was so different that I'm just like, yeah. I think these samples also, though, are less tonal, or they're less harmonically centered than the more instrumental samples, so that might also explain why we didn't have to change the chord progression to get new harmonic content, spectral content. Still can't bring it in the cabasa. What's a cabasa? Excellent use of post gain. See, that was clever, right? Turn it up afterwards. Hand to drum the conga. Can't even hear it right now, though. What? It's so loud. These pad effects seems like they should be soft because they have 30% gain applied. There's a transposition stack, and there's a comment in the sound. So there's a total of 6 channels being produced by the top left cell. Competing against 2 drum channels at the moment, the cabasa and the conga, and 1 bottom left channel, which is... doing something. Got a cool pattern on it. Almost general MIDI sound, like MIDI strings sound, but we're not using those samples. We're using the other effects, mode pad, and sci-fi kind of atmosphere, ambient. It's a very pentatonic sound right now. Pentatonic spaces are safe. They're basically going to work always. The problem with them is that they don't have a lot of harmonic variety, so you have to do a lot with rhythm, or you have to do a lot with timbre. There's not any issues right now. It's just my observation about pentatonic harmonies and melodies. If you've ever seen a piano keyboard, the black keys in the piano, if you play just those, you'll get a pentatonic scale. Just so you know. So the next time you're at a piano, try playing just the black keys and put rhythm on it, like the good rhythm that the Unknown Deleter's doing on the shakers. Try black keys on a good rhythm and you'll have a good time. Oh, I love that sound. Is that a bassoon? Clarinet, bass clarinet, pretty. I love my winds. I have a video called With Wind, which is all about live coding with wind samples. I did a series that's winds and also strings and also brass, so a video for each of those. But that's before I really knew Strudel, and I was writing my own chord constructor functions and stuff like that, pattern generators, and live coding with like strudel / JavaScript. Ended up just deleting all those quote-unquote helper functions and just using raw plain strudels. Syntax is so good. This bass clarinet choir is fantastic. I'm always here for the Wings choirs. I am surprised that there's not a GM prefix. I didn't know that there's bass clarinet outside of the general MIDI for strudel. I'll look at it. GRBT, Great Britain samples? What, is the whole island just publishes samples now? Ridiculous collection of sounds ever won. Samples.grabit.com.au/strudel.json. Go get your bass clarinets! Dubious origin, you say? I shall stop and focus on the music, which is still gorgeous. Yeah, really choice chords. So what's going on? Musically, we get a lot of low register notes with open voicings, and then occasionally it fills in a full chord with also some mid-range notes too. This may be due to the ARP function, which is selecting... it's also due to the trans function. Okay, so the transposition function is putting a perfect fifth in there, transposed down by a fourth, so we get an inverted fifth. We also have an octave below, so we basically just have a stack of root fifth octave, which is then being applied to the bass clarinet. And notes selected from arpeggiated over this modal progression. It's powerful and beautiful because it is slow moving in the bass register without adding a lot of upper harmonics, but still very clearly outlining a strong and well-known chord progression. Well-known isn't the right word. Natural is a word I can use. I do a lot of music description and music definition, and I do a lot of music generation that uses no AI but is entirely algebraic. And this kind of chord progression that we are hearing now is easily modeled, for example, by the path of a circle, point on a circle, literal circle, which represents not the circle of fifths, but represents rotations about the origin of C major in this case. This sparse conga. I think it's the conga coming in sparsely. The conga line has a lot of rest in it, and question marks means that it's, I think, a chance, 50% chance of performing. This gives it a very broken breakbeat feel. Broken meaning notes, constant rhythm. It's clearly not random because it's the same pattern of note events. but we can't tell when it will perform, and that's what breaks it. And this ply hat, this really kind of like fuzzy sound, it's interesting. I would love a rave moment here personally. I think a pounding breakbeat kick or something with heavy dropped kicks would be nice. Doesn't necessarily have to be a clock. And then we would want some offbeat syncopated hi-hats to complement it. Give it a good old rolling techno beat. That's my techno heads up for you. Here we go. We got a gentle kick drum coming in. Oh, and also sine wave. Can also work as a kick, I suppose. Question mark? How do you turn a clarinet into an orchestra? Put a reverb on it. What's the lid box? Or is that just a different sample? Time change, time make it a slower. I think it's worth mentioning quickly that there's two kinds of time change. There's the kind where tempo changes pitch with it, and the kind where it does not. Strudel, by default, will do the kind where it does not change pitch with tempo changes, which is what I expect. It's also a nice effect sometimes to also change pitch as you change tempo, because then it feels more physical. That's how sound works. Or how sound can work. With Strudel, you can accomplish that the way I do it previously was by using a global variable called key, short for key signature. It's a chromatic value 0 to 11 or 0 to -11, and then you do dot add to every line to add the note. But I understand now there's an all function, and you can just do all add note key, which is the chromatic offset, for a global transposition so that you can move everything at once. I'll try it out in the next live jam when I can make it. I have to sing at choir this week, and our concert is on Saturday. It's a full gala festival with the wind ensemble, the choir, the strings. I'm looking forward to it. So I'll have to catch this on the video again. This is a very nice pattern right now. The rhythm overall is it's very solid in grave for sure. Very contemplative. I think the reason it feels contemplative is because there's not a clockwork element anywhere, nor is there any element that is very clearly outlining the jovial pattern. The most stable thing, I guess, there is the kick that is currently clockwork, so that was a false statement. The kick is clockwork at the moment, but it is a tone that is minor. It sounds minor, so maybe it's the same key as all the minor chords. That was loud. Post gain 0 before you put it on, please. Oh, that's nice. What is that? Oh, sample drop. I see. Fine. Sample. I guess there's a difference between the sample that's like more than one note and those that are just a note that you're patterning with. Oh wow, this is a lot of new development. Okay, so in sonata allegro form, the word development made me think of sonata allegro form because that's where the word I first heard it used. you have the introduction. I think there's what are you doing to the pitch? There might be another word for it, but introduction is, you know, the start of the piece. And then there's the development, which is where you have basically a B section, so you can think of it as like A section and B section. The recapitulation would be going back to the first part, the introduction. Exposition, that's the first part. Exposition, development, and recapitulation. A fancy way of saying ABA. But Sonata Allegro would say that you can't put new development, you can't do new things toward the end. You have to just repeat, reuse existing materials. Which Unknown Deleter is doing wonderfully now. Repurposing this bass clarinet, using new chords but the same sound. They're higher, right? But it's still the same instrument family. But we do have some new beat elements that are present that weren't there before. There was a moment of those bright random synths coming in that made me think of it. In the first place, the word development. But yeah, Sonata Allegro form. It's been happening since the 1800s, I guess. It's a Western music theory thing. I think the simplest Sonata Allegro form I can think of is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Or am I watering it down too much? Is binary form the same thing as Sonata Allegro? I think there's more rules to Sonata Allegro, but I don't care about them that much to detail them or remember them in detail. Glockenspiel. Cute. The lid box is a really interesting sound. Nat breaks. I mean, I'm not complaining. It sounds good. I feel like it was weirdly timed at first, but they're meshing up now. Yeah, going back to text to screen size, I would maybe ask that we could bump the text size up a little bit more. There is probably room for increasing it by 1 or 2 clicks, the font size, without taking away too much from the viz. There's overall a lot of empty space on the screen that might make text reading a little easier. At least in the blurry situations. That's what I was thinking about again. We did a good job deleting, I guess. Cleaning up. The bottom left cell is empty now. I see a lot of commented material on the bottom right. We're slowing it down more. Is still there. It's kind of annoying at this point. Yeah, the cabasa with a fly on it. The velocity rand, that's a good move. That is a really cool move. Yeah, so I think that's part of why it's annoying though. And also the rand doesn't feel rand. Oh, wait. Maybe this is how it's happening. The rand is coming... The feeling of randomness is coming from the selection of 0, 2, and 4 ply events, the number of times it's multiplied or repeated. But rand is selecting a constant velocity for that group. but because the group is changing frequently, it has the sensation of crescendo and fake crescendo. If velocity were truly evaluating randomly per note event, it wouldn't be such a smooth sound. It would feel a bit more noise-like. That's my, I think that's the observation. This now sounds like 3 in the morning bedroom music that didn't get finished. Oh, definitely. There's an artist called Vertigo Away. They produce some tracks that kind of have that vibe, but they're definitely done. They also have some tracks that sound like they're completely high resolution, but it's a deliberate effect that they use, I think. It almost sounds like a total high-pass, low-pass filter, like, just like so that the whole song has some strong filters on it. But Vertigo Away, they're a breakcore artist that has some very cool tracks. My favorite is Oh the Meadow, yeah. Really beautiful piece of work by Vertigo Away. Oh the Meadow. This is a nice echoey, reverby hat thing. Excellent closing element. Remarks. Very nice jam. Very nice jam. Heart, thanks. Thank you all indeed for the fantastic performance. Savamala, wonderful visualizations as always. And music performed by clpa, Unknown Deleter, and Cleary. I did see janeishly just for a moment, but I don't know that I caught any words of theirs today. Maybe next time, I hope. And if you would like to join in the jam, it's open, so you can follow along in the Top Lap Discord, or forum, or the Uzu Discord, and that's where you can find the link to join yourself to this room on Saturdays. Hope to see you there. Happy music making. Make art. Bye.